What's up, guys? We got another video coming at you. Let's see what we got tonight. All right, so I'm going to give you guys a look at some material we brought home today. So right here we got a 4x8 sheet of diamond plate, 3/16 thick. We got a 1/4 inch piece of just regular aluminum plate. And then we've got a 4x8 sheet of 1/8 inch aluminum. It's all 60/61. And then we've got some 24 footers here of 1.5 by 1.5 by 1/8 inch wall square tube. So this is another one of those projects where they want a prototype first. So I'm going to build this one. They'll see what they like, what they don't like. I may make some modifications to it. And then they're probably going to have me build 9 more if they like this one. So we do have a drawing to follow, so that's pretty nice. So that's what it's going to look like. So what this is a set of mobile stairs where they can roll it into their workstation, and these back legs are actually adjustable because there's a platform that this back end is going to sit on. When they're not using the stairs in their work zone, they can actually drop that leg down, roll it out of there, and it'll be stationary and it's not going to tip over. So I think what we're going to work on tonight is I'm just going to try to get all of the tube cut. So I'm going to grab the Evolution saw, I'm going to set it up on the table, grab a piece of tube, and I'm going to start cutting all the pieces of tube for the frame. And we'll see if we can't get all these cut. Let's go ahead and get all set up, start cutting tube. All right, guys, so we're back out here tonight and we've got a little bit more material prep to do. So this is supposed to be a 27.25 inch piece with a 45 on one end and a 67.5 on the other. As you can see, that's not 67.5 degree. So I think what we're going to do is I'm going to pull my measurement off the 45 end, I'll mark it, and then I'm going to use my protractor, angle finder, and I'll mark it with a Sharpie. And then I think I'll use my porta-band on the swag table to cut the 67.5 degree. So these long ones, get it on one end, and these 27.25, get it on the other. So we'll go ahead and mark those. I'll cut them on the porta-band, and then I'm going to go through and figure out what joints need beveled. There's not a whole lot that need beveled. The angle joints need beveled. So pretty much, you know, these type of angles here, those are all going to need a bevel. So we'll go ahead and get these last angles cut. We'll bevel them, we'll prep everything, and then we got Bridger out here today, so he's going to help us fit. So we'll go to that point. All right. We need to clear off some space so we got room to fit. So let's maybe scoot everything down here. All right, so I want to show you guys something. So we're getting ready to tack our first section. This is how I want to do this. I'm actually going to tack up these upright sections and build this whole piece with all the vertical pieces. So we're going to start tacking what we can, and we'll go into time-lapse mode, and then we'll give you guys a look periodically as we start tacking this together. What's going on, guys? We're back out in the shop today, and we're going to continue on with our staircase project. I did purchase some tools to make this job a little easier. I've been waiting to do this. This is the type of project where I figured this tool would be perfect for. I honestly don't know why I've put it off so long. So I'm going to show you guys what we got. I ended up purchasing Fireball Tools squares. So I ended up getting, I think this is called the Mega Square. I don't remember what these are all called, but what I can tell you is they're fantastic. They keep everything nice and tight and square while you tack it. It's super nice because the aluminum likes to pull. So it holds it nice and square right where you want it. You tack it, you let it cool, you pull these off, and it stays right there. So it's extremely handy. You can see that I've got 3 different types here. So there's this one. These ones are called the Minion Squares. I think they have 2 different sizes of these. These are the Dragon Scale, which is cast with a abrasion resistant coating or something like that. This one's aluminum, this one's aluminum, and then I also got these ones here as well. So the Minion Squares do come in a package of 2. Oh, and this one I'm really excited about as well. This is the Magic Square, I believe they call it, but it's for doing angles, and it's also fantastic. And with something like that staircase, I think it's extremely handy to have something like that where it's got a lot of angles on it, and I'm able to adjust the angle exactly where I want it. You know, you can check it with a T-bevel, lock it down. So I think that's going to be awesome too. The other thing I did is I purchased some of their Mantis pliers, and if you notice, they have different angles on them, which is extremely handy because you're able to reach in and clamp things that you normally wouldn't be able to with a regular hand clamp. So there's just a lot of benefits to using these squares. All right, guys, so I was getting ready to go in the house, and just as I was walking out, these 2 yahoos were walking in. So they brought their roping dummy out to show me. And this is something that they built all on their own in metal shop class. I think it's pretty cool. Emmett's Bridger's friend lives down the street. So tell us real quick how you guys built it and if there's anything you would change.
We started out thinking that this would be the good body form, and then we added on this right here for support. And then we would change because as we tried healing, this right here got in the way with this. So we were thinking if we just move this back part up near the middle and put a piece of bar up to here for support. So that way when you're roping, you don't have, your rope won't get caught on any of this.
So it sounds like there's some adjustments that need to be made. Okay. So trial and error, and that's how it goes. When you build something like this and you don't have a plan, sometimes you just have to start building, and chances are there's some things that you're not going to like once you get it done. You may have to cut it apart, re-weld it, but ultimately the most important thing for something like this is these guys are learning, and I think that's the important thing. I think it's great that they're able to take a vision and be able to build it. Was it perfect the first run? No. But to be honest, that's real world stuff. You know, you come up with a design, you build it. There's going to be some things you don't like. You fix it. And hopefully eventually you can get to where you work all the bugs out and it's just like you want it. So I think it's great that these guys are doing this kind of stuff in shop class. They're getting their hands dirty, they're learning, and this is how you do it. This is how you get good at fabrication. You have to get dirty, you have to put your hood down and weld, and you have to figure it out. So there are still some places in the world where kids that are high school age are able to go and get dirty and learn how to use their hands. And I think it's awesome. So I just wanted to show you guys that. I think it's cool that these guys did this. So pretty cool. All right, we'll get back to the project. All right, guys, we're back after it today. And I think what I want to do now is, now that these are all fit up, tacked up, I want to stand them up just like this. So I'm going to stand them up on the table like so, and then I'm going to start getting our platform cross bracing and all the cross bracing that holds it together tacked in place. With these new Fireball squares, it should make it a lot easier to do stuff like this in that position. So I'm going to start with the ones on the bottom or on the back side. They'll be flat against the table, and then I'll just start building upwards to get it rigid so that it can hold itself up without having to clamp it or anything like that. So that's my plan. We'll bounce back into time-lapse mode, see if I can't get all this stuff fit up. Once we do that, I'm going to come back to you and we're going to talk about how I'm going to weld all this up. So we'll go into time-lapse mode and then I'll come back to you. All right, guys, so here's where we're at. I did manage to get all of the main structure tacked up in place. So now that we're to that point, the next order of business is going to be to weld the structure out. I've got some other little things that I've got to do. There's two foldable legs right there that need to be built. I can build those on the table. There are some plasma cut brackets, gussets that weld here, and then also our tread. So we do have quite a bit of stuff left to do. So when I get back from softball, we'll go to the next step. What's up, guys? We're back out here tonight. We're gonna see what we can't get done on this aluminum staircase. And you might notice I'm sporting some new duds. My wife bought me one of these Western Welder shirts for Valentine's Day, so we're gonna try it out. You guys have probably seen me before wearing the Wrangler FR shirts, and I really like them, but these are quite stylish, and they are FR. We're gonna give these a try. They do come in different colors and stitch colors and quite a few options you can choose from. So I do like wearing a shirt like this when I'm welding, because I can put my earplugs in my pocket here and then close my pocket and not get grinding grit and a bunch of other crap on them. And there is a little pocket here where you can put your soapstone or a pen. Obviously, it's a nice option for your microphone if you're into that sort of thing. So we'll give them a try. I like it so far. It's comfortable. We'll use it for a while and give you guys updates on what we think. I'm going to get back to welding out the staircase. I think we're ready to weld the structure out. I am going to bounce around to try to distribute the heat. I'm going to start by using our Arc Captain with the spool gun, and I want to see how it goes. If I don't feel like I'm getting good enough penetration, then I'm not going to use it. And you know, this aluminum's fairly cold, especially when you bounce around. It doesn't have a preheat or anything, so if I feel like the spool gun isn't giving it enough penetration, then I'm probably going to switch back to TIG, and I'll just have to TIG weld it. So we'll see how it goes. I am going to give it a try. So let's do it. All right, guys, so I wanted to give you an update. So I'm sure you noticed in the time lapse that I wasn't using the spool gun. And the reason for that is I did the first 2 test passes on there, and I mean, that looks pretty good. It's a good weld. It's penetrating. You can see that it's melting. You can see right there where it melted the corner. It's a good clean weld. The problem that I'm having is, if you look at this one, you can see that spatter there. It's just not as clean as when I'm TIG welding it. And so when I TIG weld it, it's just not as clean as when I TIG weld it. You know, if you look at some of these, you can see there's no spatter there. So my whole reason for not using the spool gun is basically just because it's less cleanup. It's going to save me time in the long run. And where this is the first one, it's a prototype. I want it to look as good as possible. So I want to make sure that when I weld it, that it's a showpiece basically. So TIG welding it, you're able to make your welds look better, in my opinion, and you're also going to have to do less cleanup. So that's why I went with TIG welding. I'll go ahead and get that welded out, and once I get the structure all welded out, we'll roll this over. I'll continue to weld the frame out, and once I get that done, we'll come back to you and give you a look. What's going on, guys? We're back at it tonight. I want to give you guys an update real quick on what's going on. So yesterday I came out, I finished the welding on the structure of the stairs. All right, so I want to go over a couple things because I've had some learnings on this one and I want to share those with you guys in hopes that it'll save somebody some time in the future. So here's what we got. Okay, so I have gotten the welder pretty dialed. It's running really well. I'm happy with how it's turning out. And, you know, granted, I'm not the most spectacular TIG welder out there, but for me to be able to get that welder to run like that, I'm pretty happy. What I wanted to show you guys is, so I fought it for quite a while figuring out the settings on the welder that I like and how I should sharpen my tungsten, what size of tungsten, what cup size. You know, there's so many variables in TIG welding. I think that's one of the things that makes it such a challenge. So I want to share my setup with you guys so that you can see what setup I was using to be able to get the results that I was happy with. So on my torch, this is what I was running. A number 7 cup. That is an 1/8 inch tungsten. Hopefully you can see that. But it's got a little bit of a ball on the end of it. Alright, so here is the side I've been welding with. I would say I've welded with that tungsten probably 20 or 30 welds, and as long as you don't dip it in the puddle, you're good. This is what it looks like brand new. So you can see I just sharpen it to a point and then I put a little ball on the end of it. The other thing I wanted to mention is the settings on the machine. So on my machine, I had my AC frequency running at 120 Hertz. My AC balance was at 70%, and I feel like that was the sweet spot for me. Now I did run into an issue. After I started getting a lot of these pieces of tube welded in place, when I was on the final pass, I kept having an issue where I'd get to the end of the weld and it would go and it would just kind of blow up at me. Then I would grind it down, I would get those nodule looking things, and it just was a nightmare. And I couldn't ever get it to seal up. So finally, I was like, you know what? I wonder if the air inside of the tube isn't expanding because it's warming up, and it's basically a pressure vessel. And when I'm trying to seal up that weld, it's blowing out at me. Well, that's exactly what was happening. So I want to show you what my method was to resolve that. Hopefully you guys can see that little teeny hole right there. So I just put a drill bit, 332 size drill bit, in my drill, and I would drill a hole underneath where you can't see it, and there's one on all these pieces that I was having issues with. I would just drill a little teeny hole, and that would eliminate the issue. Now that it's all welded out, I think we're good. But I just wanted to share that with you in case you find yourself in a similar situation where it's blowing back at you like that. If it's a sealed off chamber, if the last weld you're running makes it a sealed off chamber, just drill a little teeny hole underneath where no one's going to see it. And I could go back and seal them off now that it's cool, I'm sure, but it's not going to matter. These are going to be indoors. So I just wanted to share that with you guys. So tonight, I need to get the aluminum diamond plate put on the table. I've also got the 1/4 inch plate. I've also got the 1/8 inch plate, I believe. And I've got all the parts that I got to burn for this. So tonight I'm going to work on getting all the parts drafted and burned, and I guess we'll see how far we get. I'm hoping I can get to the point where they're all burned and everything, and I can start fabbing up some of this other stuff. The stair tread, and there's some gusset pieces. There's some pieces that the wheels mount to. So hopefully I can get to the point where I start fitting that stuff up. That's going to be the plan for tonight. So we'll go over the burn table and I'll start messing around with that. Once I get everything cut, we'll come back and I'll give you guys a look. All right, what's up guys? We're back out here tonight again. We got the structure all welded out. I did get the diamond plate cut. So that's the top plate. You can see our cutouts are in there. We've checked the fit and everything fits good. And I am gonna have to grind the weld off the top surface there so it'll sit flat and flush with the top of the step. But we're ready to get these cleaned up and welded out. I also stopped by the warehouse that I do the work for, and they ended up getting me the hardware. So the wheels, the 1/4 20 feet that go in the 4 legs, 6 legs, 8 legs total. And the hinges, the pins. So everything's here. That's one of the other nice things about doing work for these guys is they procure all of that hardware and stuff, so it works out better for both of us because then I don't have to order all that stuff. Typically when people do that, they mark it up, so I don't have to do that. So it actually keeps my bid a little bit smaller than a lot of these other guys. So I feel like I win more bids by not having to procure the hardware and include it into my bid. But also it's nice because if they order it and there's a mistake, it's not on my dime, it's on theirs. And they just go ahead and order the right stuff and that's it, end of story. So there's a lot of benefits to doing it that way. We do have the wheel plates on the front and the stiffeners to weld on. So there's still quite a bit of work here, but I think we can get a good chunk of it taken care of tonight. So that's the plan. So let's saddle up and get after it. All right, I just have to say one thing real quick. These Fireball squares are amazing. The more I use them, the more ways I find that they can be used. And it's just crazy. Anyway, I'm gonna show you what I got going here. Okay, so I've got to tack this on. And I thought, well, how am I gonna hold this and get tacks on it and get it flush and get it square? Okay, so I've got the square clamped to the tube here. And then I've taken a clamp and clamped this flush to the bottom here. And I'm gonna be able to get a tack here. Once I have a tack here, I'll be able to move the square, get a tack here, bam. It's just extremely handy. And there's just a lot you can do with them. The more I use them, the more I like them. So I just wanted to show you guys, this really is a game changer. Because for someone like me who works alone a lot, sometimes stuff like this can kick your butt because you don't have anybody to hold it. So you gotta get creative and figure out a way so that you can rig it up and get it tacked. So this is gonna be a huge game changer. It's gonna save time. It gets it nice and perfectly flush. We're gonna be able to turn out a better product. Very handy. So just wanted to show you guys that. All right, guys, I hate to keep interrupting, going back and forth between time lapse and then me yakking, but I'm a little frustrated. I cannot believe I've gone as long as I have welding without these squares. I'm not demoing these squares for Fireball. I'm not affiliated with them. They've never reached out to me or anything like that. I just decided to buy some because they looked like a neat tool to have, and I figured there was a lot that you could do with them. I thought, you know what, if you did have those squares, you could clamp the square to the material. It holds it tight and square while you tack it. Seems like a good idea, a good tool to have. Well, I didn't know about all this other stuff. I've got to show you this. This one here, this is another one that's blowing my mind. So let me show you. Is it the Mega Square? I think this is the Mega Square, but it's the mini Mega Square. So I've got it clamped in my 90 here. You can see I got a clamp on the bottom. what I did was I took a marker and I marked where the center of my plate should be. What I did is I took a Sharpie, I deducted half the thickness of my material. What I did is I took a Sharpie, I did the math on what the thickness of my material was. I made some marks on my tube here on either side of where I want this to go. Now normally you'd have to hold this in place and sit and fidget and have someone hold it for you, tack it. But now if I clamp that square where my marks are for the bottom, and then I take my gusset, I'm a little sickened by this. You can see what a game changer that would be. I put my gusset in there, I tack it, pull the square, tack the other side, weld it out. I know that it's where it needs to go because it's clamped into place. I'm just blown away by this. So I'm beginning to see that the way this square was designed, there are multiple uses. And the way that it was designed, meaning the way that it's got a cavity in here, and the way that it's flush on one side, and the way that it has holes here, all these things have a purpose. And I realize I'm nerding out a little bit here, but I'm just amazed. I'm amazed at all the uses. I'm amazed at all the ways that you can rig stuff up and clamp it down and square things and hold it where you need to. Even if you're not using it for a square, you can clamp it on the side of a piece of tube, set your tube on top of it wherever you need it. It's just, you know, I've heard a lot of comments on social media about how expensive they are, and oh, Fireball, they're just so expensive. A regular square can do just as good a job. I'm telling you right now, I'm calling BS. There is no way. After I've used them on just this project, and this is the only project that I've had them on so far, there is no way that you can do with a regular square what you can do with these. And they kind of all have a different set of skills. The Mega Square, the Minion Square. I hate to keep nerding out over this, but I just wanted to tell you guys, and I wanted to show you guys, if you don't have them, I'm just gonna say it, you're missing out. I've watched numerous videos where people said that, and I probably thought the same thing as a lot of you guys are thinking right now. I thought, well, they're expensive, and I've done a good enough job with regular squares for how many years now? That's true. And when you see what you're able to do with them, it just pisses you off is all it does. So anyway, I just wanted to show you guys. I'll try to quit nerding out and showing you guys every little thing you can do with them, but it's just, it's like the gift that just keeps on giving all year round, Clark. All right, let's get back to work. All right, what's up guys? We're back out here today. I did just get the other wheel brackets put on. I do have to weld the stiffener on still. I'm letting this cool for a minute. So while we're letting this cool, to be able to weld this completely out, I'm gonna have to flip it over and do the other side. But before I do that, I figure since it's sitting here where we can get to all the legs, I wanna show you guys what I have planned for this. So I got a new tool that's gonna help us out with stuff like these holes where you need to have a threaded hole. Well, that doesn't really work all that great on aluminum. It's so soft that if you tap that hole, chances are it's just gonna strip out when you run the bolt in once or twice. It's gonna be done. So there's been a lot of you that have said in the comments over the past several videos where I've needed a riv nut tool. Well, I finally pulled the trigger. So let's show you what we got. So what I've done is I purchased a couple boxes of riv nuts. So these ones are stainless, metric, mild metric, standard mild, and stainless standard. This kit was not very expensive. I bought it on Amazon. I want to say I paid under $200 for it. I'll try to leave a link in the description for this one. I'm pretty sure it's a Chinese brand, but it's Giantisan or Giantisan or however you say it. The important thing is whether it works or not. So it did come with this nice container with some riv nuts in it. But again, they're all mild. And typically, if I'm gonna put hardware on aluminum or stainless, I try to use stainless hardware. Here's the crimper. It looks a lot like the one from Harbor Freight. I liked that this one has a gauge on it that you can adjust so you get the depth and the crimping pressure right. The dies are all color coded and they have the size written on each container. So I looked at all the different options that they offered on Amazon and I just liked this kit best. It looked like a decent one. We'll see how it holds up. So now I'll show you what my plan is for getting these riv nuts in here. So you can see that I've burned a hole in my foot plates. So now all I have to do is make sure that I have the right size riv nut and then it will fit in our hole. And that's actually just how I wanted it. It won't go in quite yet. So I'm just gonna ream that out with a drill bit. I'll set this in, I'll crimp that down, and we're golden. So I'm gonna go ahead and get my tools all set up, my drill bit, my riv nut tool. I'm gonna get all my tools set up and ready and then I'll show you guys the process I'm gonna use to get these crimped in. All right guys, so I got my tools all set up here. Now I wanna go over something with you real quick. So I looked in the manual because I wanted to see if there was a chart that would tell you what size drill you need to use for what size riv nut. And there is, but here's the problem. It does tell you workpiece thickness, length after compression, drill size, but when it tells you the drill size, you can see it's got metric at the top, standard at the bottom, and then if you go to drill size, the drill size is in metric. So I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna build my own chart. And I'll probably use like an Excel sheet in a spreadsheet format. And then I'll go through and measure all the riv nuts and I'll just choose the closest size drill bit that's a little bit oversized. And then I'll have my own chart. I'll be able to throw it up on the wall or put it in the case and then I'll always have it. So that part kind of sucks, but usually these Chinese tools, that's what happens. All right. So let's go ahead and drill this out. Fits in there just right. All right, so now that we've got our riv nut crimped in place, we're gonna test it with our foot here. And I like it. So I think that's gonna work. I'm gonna go ahead and do the same thing to all the rest of the legs. I did crimp that a second time because I could look inside and see where it's supposed to fold over. It wasn't quite folded over all the way. So I tightened this up just a hair more, crimped it again, and it's good. So we'll go ahead and get the rest of these done and get the feet in them. And then I'll be ready to roll it over. This is cool now, so I'll be able to flip it over, weld the other side of this, put the wheels on. We've got 2 other legs to build that get folded out of the way. So we'll go ahead and get all the rest of this done. And once we get to that point, we'll come back and give you a look. Is it done?
Yeah.
Cutting some fence posts out of drill pipe. All right, guys, we're on the home stretch. Just gonna mount this last leg. I found another use for the fireball squares. So I've got the square clamped here, and then I've got this leg clamped here. This hinge needs to mount here because this leg is gonna flip up out of the way. You'll be able to pin it up here and pin it down here. To be able to do this, usually you would have to hold that, especially where this is. It's just a tough spot to be able to clamp it square and drill your holes and sink your screws in. But with this square, it's literally just put your hinge there in place, set it where you want it, set it and forget it. Set it where you want it and drill your holes. So that's what we're gonna do now. I think she's done. All that's left to do is to do a swan dive off this baby. That was a little tougher than I thought it was gonna be. Took longer than I thought. I am happy with how it turned out. I think the customer's gonna be happy with it. If we end up getting the other 9 on this one, I think we're gonna put together a jig. Oh, we got a visitor. Come over here. Hey, come over here and climb these stairs. Come here. Come walk up these stairs. I'll help you. Okay? Let me put these down. Just a second. Just a second. Wait. Let me put these in. Wait. Wait till I tell you. Okay. Go ahead. Go ahead. Woo! Stand up. Stand up. Okay, come stand right here by me. Now look at the camera. Okay? Say, thanks for watching.
Thanks for watching.
Woo-hoo-hoo! All right. That's going to wrap this one up. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Hope you guys learned something. I know I sure did. We just passed 5K subscribers. We really appreciate the support. Appreciate you guys watching. Thanks again. We'll see you on the next one. So right here we got a sheet. So right here we got a 4 by... What's going on, guys? We are back at... What's up, guys? We're back out here tonight. We're working on this aluminum... Goodness. The more ways I find that you can use... I don't even know how to explain this. So I got a new tool that's going to help us out on this type of stuff. So I'm going to show you what I got. Goodness. I looked at all the different setups that they offered on Amazon. Goodness. Okay, look at the camera and say, see you on the next one. You got to point like this. Say, do it. Say, see you on the next one. Yeah, point. That's just like that. Now say, see you on the next one. Goodness. The only other person that speaks like that is